Mo Salah has another companion in Tomi Yasu's pocket. Welcome back to Arsenal podcast. Was it Arsenal 1 and PSV 0? What a game. I think this is probably, in terms of the group stage, I think this is probably the best game that we play, even though the score did not reflect the way how we dominated throughout the whole game. But the fact that PSV is a very tough team, and they've been doing very well. And the fact that coming into this game, not a full strength team, but we somehow just beat them 1-0, like the old 1-0 to the Arsenal. And throughout the whole game, we have been very, very well, pretty much dominating possessions. We got quite a lot of shots, but unfortunately, none of them quite hit the target until, I'm pretty sure, the first one was Jesus. Skipped left and right, somehow found the goalkeeper, but the goal doesn't come in until the 69th minute with Granit Xhaka. What a strike that was, and what a cross by Tomi Yasu. A lot of people would just, in that moment, a lot of right backs or players just kind of like whip it in between the defenders and also the goalkeeper. Hopefully somebody is going to be at the end of the line and try to put that one in, but for Granit Xhaka, great finish with his weaker foot too, and of course, clever pass, clever vision by Tomi Yasu. A one bounce off the ground, and of course, Granit Xhaka strikes that very sweetly and bypass the goalkeeper for a 1-0 win. But going into this game, I know it is not going to be. We're not going to feel a weaker side. There's no way, because we still want to be at the top of the table by the end of the group stage, and of course we can bygone I think the preliminary round around 36, because you certainly don't want to end up at second place in the group stage, because what you're going to do is pretty much facing a third place team in the group stage of the Champions League. So you try to avoid that as well. Apparently, quite a lot of a giant candidate might be joining the Europa League preliminary round, including Barcelona and some other teams as well. But of course, you try to not get into that. And the fact that Arsenal do not have enough depth in the team, which it's also a good thing, where if we finish it up the top of the group stage, which means we don't have to play those two games. So I would rather keep it that way. I know as a fan, you want to watch your favorite team, twice or 3 times a week, but for the sake of the players and for the sake of the season, I think the most viable thing to do is pretty much not to trying to finish it off strong in the group stage. But of course, I'm predicting a win in this game anyway. But the next game against PSV away, that one's going to be tricky, but we just need 1 point. A draw will allow us to finish at first, because PSV, prior to today's game, I believe they won twice and they drew one, something like that. So that's great. And right, this game, the build up to this game, I already knew Zinchenko's not going to be in the squad. I don't think he started more than 5 games, to be honest, but it's more of a concern right now in terms of his injury record for the past few weeks. He hasn't kept himself very healthy recently, which is something that's very concerning. I thought Martinelli's not going to start this game, which is completely fine, because apparently yesterday or 2 days ago he was feeling under the weather. But it's great to see him back on the pitch, showing good signs as well, looking very sharp. And talking about the starting lineup, it's pretty much what I was kind of expecting, kind of like a mix between starters and also reserve players. Tomi Yasu back at right back, which is I find it very interesting, because Tomi Yasu do not have a healthy record with the Arsenal so far, and I thought this game he might be well rested, and I thought it was either Saliba or Gabriel coming on, And of course, Tierney's going to play on the left hand side regardless. Turns out the back four seems fine. We barely allowed PSV any chances pretty much everywhere, except in the second half. There's a little bit shaky moments where the back line just kind of got exposed between spaces. There's one I remember, I think it was number 3 from PSV, tried to cross in the middle to Luke De Jong, and that was a very poor pass. That was I would say a very easily guided pass right there if it was another player. But that was pretty much like the slipped up at the back, but pretty much everything seems to be intact. And there's a lot of players I want to talk about. Tomiyasu again, the fact that Tomiyasu signed this game and the way how he played makes me realize why he should be starting, why he started this game is because Cody Gakpo has been phenomenal throughout the whole campaign, and that's why he pocketed Cody Gakpo throughout the whole game. And I don't see Cody Gakpo had a chance to take a shot or even like cuts inside trying to take a shot or anything like that. Nothing resemblance to that at all, which is a very good thing. Again, Tomiyasu just seems to be winning all the aerial duels, and of course he's a very smart person, very smart footballer, predicted everything, anticipated everything before the ball bounces to an opposition player, and pretty much he silenced Cody Gakpo throughout the whole game. And honestly, for me, I think he is probably the man of the match for me. That's my opinion. You guys might have a different opinions or another play of the game for you guys. And other than that, Sambi Lakonga, I think he was fine. He's able to keep possession, and his through ball was fine as well, good quality. But I think it might be the time for us to actually sit down and talk about Sambi again. Last season, or in the All of Nothing documentary, he pretty much very vocal about his he's not starting. I will understand him because it's like a huge huge skip between Sambi and also Partey. So that's a big problem right there, because he was meant to be the successor for Thomas Partey, but based on what we're seeing is really tough. I know he's still young and stuff like that. It might take even a couple of years more to develop into that role as a lone six, but playing as a lone six in the Premier League, it's probably one of the toughest position that you can ever ask for in a player. And the fact that we always really need to rely on Thomas Partey fitness in order to kind of carry out a good game for us. And I'm not saying Sambi is a bad player, but in terms of experience and skill level, just completely off. I mean, I'm sure I really do believe in Sambi. I really do hope that he is going to succeed eventually. Might be in a couple of years. It's fine as long as he slowly develops into that role. But in the short term, I think at this moment, playing as a number 8 for him might be more suitable, because I know on Twitter, saw a couple of Arsenal fan was thinking that it's about time for Sambi. Yeah, there is a great flaw in Sambi, which is his lack of positional awareness at points, and he always quite switch off when we're in a transition. He's not at the right place at the right time. A lot of times, I think there are times where Thomas Partey would probably stay at where he was in an area which kind of potentially intercepted maybe three to four passes around him, but Sambi just kind of allowed the opposition to have another 2 extra passes, 2 extra spaces for the opposition to run. And that's pretty much the flaw for Sambi, but I truly really want him to succeed in Arsenal, because who remember that goal when in the preseason Arsenal playing against Chelsea, after he scored, he was kissing the badge. And I thought it shows a great love for the club. But the fact that if the club doesn't give him like provide the right way for him to play, then it's very easy to see Sambi out the door, because I think he's very young. He came from Belgium. He was the captain for Anderlecht for a few games or the whole season, something like that. And there are also rumors going around that, he might be going to Juventus for either we get him McKennie, Weston McKennie, or Locatelli. But I would take Locatelli, to be honest. But at the same time, I feel bad if Sambi just didn't really get a proper chance at the club. Yeah, so I really do hope Sambi's going to succeed at one point. I want to see what other people would think, because I only read the Twitter for like a minute or so. Can't really gather like all the opinions together at one point. But Eddie Nketiah, what a player in this game. He is. I was assuming he is going to play in the middle and Jesus on the left hand side, but today is completely opposite, where Eddie just playing on the left hand side. He makes so many good runs through the middle. Pretty much nobody seems to be catching him at points. But I know he might be disappointed not getting a goal. He had a couple of chances, but it was just not his day in terms of goal scoring. But the fact that he made a lot of good runs, good dribbling through between defensive line and also the midfield line as well, shows how there's more into Eddie's game instead of just putting him as a central striker. And when you play him on the left hand side, cuts back inside, looks very, very bright as well. And of course, again, he is pretty much like a direct substitution to Gabriel Jesus, and I believe this is their first start together on the left hand side and also in the middle as well, which is totally fine. It looks great to me, to be honest, which also meant that, in terms of players that can do a job as a left in the left wing area, you can rely on Reece Nelson. But right now it seems like Eddie can play in that role. But the fact that if you subbed on Eddie in, then who's going to play who's going to play as a striker when Jesus' fitness is very important. And Fabio Vieira, I feel bad for the guy. I felt like he's trying to get into the game. He made a couple of passes here and there. Remember, there's one he swung. He put a through ball to Jesus, but he tried to swung at it. Didn't quite make the contact, but it was a good pass as well. You can see something in Vieira, but today's just not his game, which is totally fine. That's why I want to see him more in the Premier League, because I don't know if the fact that playing with the reserve players would, I think if he played with a much better team, like a much better structured team, it might be better in a way. But Fabio Vieira still needs time to adapt in the Premier League, or even just playing for Arsenal in general. It's still quite early, to be honest. We are pretty much 2.5 months in, and I still can't believe the league started 2.5 months ago. And and we're at the top of the group stage. I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibe. And right now we're traveling to St. Mary's Stadium against Southampton, away from home. Again, it's not going to be an easy game. We have some really, really bad record against Southampton in the past. Last season we lost 1-0 despite having numerous chances, and suddenly Fraser Foster turns into Emmanuel Neuer, or a prime Buffon in that game, I remember. So hopefully Fraser Foster is not there anymore, and Southampton, I think it was Ralph or something like that. I think the manager called Ralph. I think there were news coming saying that he might be getting sacked at one point. I haven't even checked the Premier League table. Actually, let me see the Premier League table. I think they beat against Bournemouth yesterday. And looking at the table, I hope we can see something here. Okay, so we are at the table. Southampton sitting 14th. Not bad. They won 3, drawing 2, and losing 6. But we're 16 points ahead of them. But we just can't get ourselves ahead of the game. Still a long way to go. And of course, Saka seems to be picking up a knock. I thought it was a strain. I thank God it was not a strain. It's more of a kick at the back of the calf. I hope he's gonna be fine. And Arsenal seemingly to have 2 full days to recover. So they better, I don't know, I wish the physios are going to do a good job, give them good massage. Hopefully everybody's fit once again, and Zinchenko, hopefully he's going to be back, but I think at this rate, I don't think I might be seeing him until like the last game or two of the season. So there you go, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this thing, and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in a bit.